Was forensic evidence mishandled in the Casey Anthony trial? Imagine being in a courtroom where every piece of evidence is scrutinized, debated, and questioned. That was the scene during the Casey Anthony trial, one of the most talked about cases in recent history. The question many ask is whether forensic evidence was mishandled or if the science simply had its limitations. Let's look at what actually happened. The forensic evidence in this case was heavily debated. For example, investigators found human hair in the trunk of Casey Anthony's car. The hair was identified through mitochondrial DNA analysis as belonging to Caylee Anthony. This supported the idea that Caylee's body had been in the trunk. They also collected air samples from the trunk that contained compounds linked to human decomposition. These findings seemed to point toward a connection between the trunk and the death of Caylee. But the methods used to detect decomposition odors were fairly new and not widely accepted at the time. The odor analysis technique was controversial because it relied on chemical detection that was still being developed. Some experts questioned how reliable these results really were. The prosecution argued that the presence of chloroform in the trunk's carpet was evidence of an attempt to sedate Caylee. One forensic expert detected high levels of chloroform, but the defense said the levels were minimal and could have natural explanations. Gasoline odors were also detected, which added more confusion about what the chemicals really meant. Another piece of evidence was the duct tape found partially attached to Caylee's skull. The prosecution suggested it was a murder weapon, possibly used for suffocation. The defense argued that the jawbone was still attached because of hair and debris, not because of foul play. They claimed the decomposition process was not fully understood and that the evidence did not conclusively prove homicide. Digital evidence also played a role. Internet searches for chloroform and self-defense were found on Casey Anthony's computer. But the forensic analysis of her browser history was complicated. Some software produced conflicting results, and an error was made when counting visits to a website about making chloroform. This mistake made it harder to interpret her online activity. As for how evidence was handled, a former forensic investigator said that standard procedures were followed. Items that were wet or soaked in blood were dried properly to prevent degradation. The defense questioned these procedures, but they were consistent with nationwide crime scene practices. From a criminology point of view, this case shows how tricky forensic science can be. Many of the techniques used were still new or not fully proven. While no clear evidence of mishandling was found, the doubts cast on the forensic results played a big part in the trial's outcome. It highlights the importance of using reliable methods, clearly explaining their limits, and managing evidence carefully in high-profile cases.